Welcome to When Nature Calls Outdoors TV show. I am Mike Rice. To my right, I have
Michael James Littleton, One Shot Pops.
And to my left,
Taylor College Girl Rice.
So we're here in the studio, and we're back with you guys. Guess we're gonna do some talking about the Doe Management toward the end of the season. We're gonna do some talking about our squirrel hunts and our whitetail season in general on the eastern shore of Maryland.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so really the only person that got does this year were you.
Well, it just happened to fall that way, right? I mean, we typically have a pattern that we follow. We try to get the whitetail bucks early in the season and throughout the rut, and then we typically try to do some doe management. This year, unfortunately, the does didn't cooperate. They didn't show up. After the bucks chased them all over the place, and I guess we did some scaring too, the does decided to head somewhere where we just don't know where they're at. So we only got a couple of them. It was unfortunate.
Yeah, it was. Did you see any?
Nope, not a single time when we went doe hunting did I see any.
Well, we had some issues. We had the farmer didn't put up a winter crop for us.
No, there's no food, there's no deer.
And we were still putting out, corn and stuff, but they kind of turned into nocturnal.
Yeah. And the corn wasn't
we
enough
saw the tracks, but they just weren't there.
Yeah.
There definitely was an exodus. This typically is a tough situation later on in the season on any hunting property when the food sources dry up. As you saw and as you have seen now, as you're getting more and more used to this game, chasing the whitetail, the famous American whitetail. These deer tend to disappear if you don't have a food source. If you have a food source and they need bedding, water, and food, if you have those items, they'll stick around. But between the hunting pressure, between no food, they left.
Yeah, we did a lot of hunting this year.
We did.
We started early, in September?
Yeah.
Which is extremely unusual for you. You do not like September hunting. Ticks. And
I wouldn't say I don't like it. I typically, and it's actually a great time to hunt. And early, I would say in the first week or two of September, when the deer's velvet possibly still on there, that's actually an excellent time to get a whitetail buck. But as you said, Michael, and most hunters will agree, between the heat, the ticks, you're sweating in a tree stand or in a blind, it's just not comfortable. And it's just a time that I've found that it's better for me to wait till later in September, early October. But I can tell you now, most people would love to hunt in early September and all. I mean, it's absolute.
And then we talked for this upcoming season that we were possibly going to go in later September, early October, and doing some doe management then.
Early in the season, yeah.
Yeah, has your opinion changed on that? What are you thinking for?
Well, I tell you what, man. Like I said, that first week or two of September, we could probably have a great time going out there and chasing us some whitetail bucks. You don't get them in that first week or two, then I'd say, okay, let's chill out. Let's hang out later, possibly early October, middle October, and let them develop some good patterns, decide who owns what territory. That is the whitetail buck, of course, and then we try to get in on them.
Yeah, we're doing things a little bit different this year. We're setting up the food plots for, instead of having more early season.
More late season.
Yeah, we're going to do the late season plantings so that we have that food when the farmer takes down his last crop and they don't have anything.
Yeah.
We'll have that food.
Well, Michael, and with saying that, you've done an excellent job at the food plots. I mean, you've really done a great job. Why don't you tell the people a little bit what you got in store in your mind for this year? I mean, you've done 2 incredible food plots, which we can later on show some pictures of and all. What are your thoughts this year, Mike?
So we're going to start out. We're putting. We have 2 different ones on we call the right food plot. We're putting in some whitetail institution power plant, which is predominantly for middle to late season. It's got the sunflowers, it's got the brassicas, it's got the some clover mixtures in there, some chicory, it's got the rye, it's got stuff that the tonnage of foliage is gigantic. And
Is that, and are you saying this is the early season, right, Michael?
no, this is more for the late,
Oh, it's
mid
for
to
the
late season. So
Okay.
what we're doing, so that's going to be a section of one of the food plots, and then the other section is going to be for the clover, the chicory, the alpha rack, which has alfalfa. It has alfalfa for deer, not the dry alfalfa
For horses.
for the horses and
Did you happen to pay attention? I mean, I know this is all new to us, and look, everyone out there, you can do this too. I mean, we're new at this. Michael's learning as he goes. I'm learning. We're all learning. Taylor, we call her Tay sometimes, by the way. Really, Tay Swift. But
Yeah.
anyway, Michael, what is your gut feel about the food plots? Was there something in particular they liked the most? Was it the clover? Was it chicory? Was it turnips? Didn't you have turnips last year?
Yeah, they hammered.
They hammered the turnips, didn't they?
Yeah, they hammered it early though, and then
Now that's odd. Wasn't the turnips usually a later
Yes.
season type thing, or
and
what
then
happened?
when we went in and they tore them up. The
Did we
turnips
plant
were-
them too soon? Did we do our game right? I mean, what do you think?
We went on the suggestions of Whitetail Institution. Yeah, and they stated more of August to early September, and we put them in July.
Oh, okay.
And then they sprouted.
Yeah.
The deer.
Yeah, I remember them taking off.
Yeah,
Deer
I mean the
fell in
deer
love.
loved the turnips. They loved the chicory. They loved they destroyed the early food plots.
Yeah.
I mean they wiped them out.
All right. Well, not that I wanted to jump subject, but we did jump into the food plot management. But as we were talking about, we had a doe management that wasn't so successful. We
Correct.
did take two beautiful does. They dressed out 120 and 110, 15 pounds. They were beautiful specimens. Didn't have much luck after that for a while. But now we're looking at the close of the season, I mean, the whitetail season's coming to an end. We saw very sparse activity.
Correct.
It sort of gets a test of it tests your fiber. It says, what am I out here for? Is this fun being out here? Am I just trying to take an animal? Am I enjoying the people's company I'm with? So we were closing the season out. What were your thoughts, Tay? What was happening towards the end? Because it was the success rate starting to diminish, and you're not seeing as much animals. What were your thoughts?
Well, first, when did you get your buck?
I got my first buck on November 23rd.
Okay, so it
November
was,
23rd.
you
That's
know,
the tail end of the rut.
Yeah.
And that was also a Thanksgiving break for me from college. And at first we didn't see anything. We didn't see any bucks. We didn't see any does for the first 2 days. I saw a huge spike, and then that was in the right food plot. And then on November 23rd, we saw some does on the camera, and then so I went to the left food plot and got my first buck.
Yep.
Taylor, did you see rutting activity at the time the buck when you killed it, or was it just coming out to kind of graze? Or no?
I think he
you're
was
talking
just,
November 23rd. What was happening? Let the people understand what was going on at that time. We're in Maryland, you got to understand.
Yeah.
And the weather was cooperating somewhat, wasn't it? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, he was chasing after a little button buck, and then a doe came after him. So I wouldn't say it was running activity, more like evening.
Think he was
feeding
just
time.
following the button
Yeah.
buck out, sort of?
Yeah. Yep. Like 2 minutes right after the little buck.
So he was
buck
coming
came
out to feed, you think, more or less?
Yeah, he was grazing.
So when do they say in Maryland? What are the dates that they usually say are for the rut? I mean, that's-
The primary dates in Maryland, what they claim to be, and I'm sure this is all scientific data and all too, because they check a lot of data and all, and they say it's about November 1st through the 15th of November. But trust me, if you've hunted these woods like my old self has, you'll see activity in October, especially the last 2 weeks of October. You'll see things going on. And you get that primary rut, and then you get a secondary rut. And that usually occurs anywhere near the end of November into the first week of December. And then, believe it or not, there's a third rut sometimes, a tertiary or a third rut that it's so minuscule that you may not even notice it's happening. But that could happen late December and into early January. I've seen some strange things, but boy, yeah, it's primary 1st to the 15th.
And then, but this year we had warmer weather going into the rut.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing, when we talk rut, there's so many discussions about rut. There's pre-rut, post-rut, there's actual chasing, there's fighting, there's all kinds of things. So what I'm talking about is the time when they're really starting to meet up with the girls. The bucks are meeting up with the girls, and they're wanting to actually mate and have some offspring for the following year. But you can talk about pre-rut, post-rut, all the different phases. And of course, if you include all that in, you could be talking the middle of October till the middle of December.
Yeah.
But it depends on,
Okay.
I'm talking about the time when they can really get together and then start actually mating,
Okay. Squirrel hunting. We did it actually more this year than we did last year.
We did.
Yeah.
And we killed more squirrels this year too.
And we made it a competition.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
That was fun.
Well, I got to tell you, that young lady right there, the first week that we did our first squirrel hunt, the first weekend, we did one day. She was a champion.
Yeah,
I mean, she absolutely,
7
we
squirrels.
very successful day.
Mm-hmm.
We took, was it 20 squirrels today?
Total.
Yeah.
That
we
first
got,
day.
We got 20, yeah.
It was
we did
4
get 20.
people. We're allowed 6 per person. And we were able to get 20, I think it was 20 squirrels, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And you got the top, you got the most that first time. It was like 6, you got the championship.
Yep.
And the rest were all behind, trailing. And
Matter of fact, I don't think I got one that day.
No, you did.
You
I got one.
Yeah,
you got one.
Yeah, you had a
Or
rough
no,
day. Well, you
might have
were
had
bow
3.
hunting. I think you decided to
bow
bow.
hunted it,
I
yeah.
think you decided to, even though we had a competition, and poor Tay was your partner.
Well, I knew
you
she could
decided
hold
to
down the
bow
fort.
hunt in the
That's
morning.
true, I did.
I did.
And if you would have squirrel hunted, I think your team would have won. But it ended up that me and the grandson Rod, Rod we call him, we ended up with 10, and Taylor and
Oh yeah,
Mike
that's
ended
right.
up with
I did
10.
have 3 from the afternoon, so we did tie it for that day.
Yeah, you got more in the afternoon because
Yeah.
you're allowed 6 per person, and in the end,
That's
you know,
right.
you got
Yeah.
6 and you got the 4, and it was
Yep.
really neat. I think Rod and I got 5 apiece, so we were able to tie, even though Taylor was ripping them up. It's funny.
Yep.
It's funny.
And then we went out again, and we made it an even bigger competition because we brought our buddy John out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And
brought
Holden-
John. We had
Holden was
teams
out
of
there
3,
too.
right? Tay?
Yep.
We had teams of 3. What was your team, Tay?
My team was the Rice Burners, as we call ourselves.
Rice
It was
Burners.
Dad, it was me and my little brother Holden, and
Holden's not so little anymore, but yeah.
No, he's taller than all of us.
That's true,
He's
yes.
taller than all of us. He's
True.
only 12 years old.
True.
My team consisted of Smoking John Sewell, Rah the Rod Sterry, and One Shot Pops. And
you guys were trying to trade in me
But
for John.
you got to admit, what you got to admit, Rah, that kid can shoot a weapon like no other. I mean, he's dead on the money with that.
you're really actually you
Yeah.
all are. Taylor's deadly. Holden did quite well. Yeah,
Well,
Rod's a good
Yeah.
shot.
Holden
But,
went out with a 22 that he only shot a couple times, and he got what, 1 or 2 squirrels?
yeah, I think
Right.
he did.
First time,
did
but he
get
shot
one.
at the. Of course, he shot the gun at the range many times to practice before going in because we're ethical
Yeah.
hunters. We would make sure we can handle our weapons well.
Yeah,
And,
no, it's just like the nervous.
But what happened? What happened that time? What happened on the second week?
Oh, my
it was
goodness.
the famous Squirrel Smackdown of 2019 at the Noble Kelly Ranch. I mean, so get that squared away. But anyway, what happened, Tay?
Okay, so in the morning, I was in the stand that we call the SHIT stand. I don't curse, not at all.
All
So
right.
I will not say it. So
There's a reason why we
There's
call
a
that.
story behind that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a story behind it. And I was in the 2-man one actually. It's an enclosed blind, and I had laid out a gallon-sized Ziploc bag of corn out to give some of the squirrels to try and entice
Now remember,
them
we're
in
talking about the second week, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
this is
the
the second week. This is
Alright.
the second week. And
I had all the other corn in the back for you guys, and you guys didn't grab it.
Yeah. And
But how many did you get that second time, Tay?
I didn't get any. I
Oh
didn't see
my
any. None
goodness
would
gracious.
come
No.
out. But
What
but
happened?
in the morning stand or in the morning hunt, there's always 50 million just
Blackbirds.
blackbirds at that area
Mm-hmm.
at those stands. And I said, you know what, Dad? It's been 3 hours into the hunt. Can I just kill some blackbirds? And he said, yeah, go ahead. There's like 50 million of them on the cameras. And so I did. I started shooting at the birds.
So you're
You know-
eradicating blackbirds.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I killed
Well,
one too.
we needed to down there. Geez,
Yeah.
oh man.
And Mike, what happened with you that day?
To be honest, I don't really remember. Didn't I? I came in with what, 6? Didn't I come in with 6 that day? 7?
I don't know. It's your story. I think
I
Holden
did.
got. I think Holden got 1.
He got 1.
And
think you
I
might have
think you
gotten
brought in
3.
6 squirrels.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you got the limit.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
got your limit. You know.
And then
So
you guys ended up winning, didn't you?
we ended
Yeah.
up with the win. Yeah, you
By
ended up
1,
with
right? Or something
8,
like
and I
that?
think we had 10.
Was it? Okay.
I think something like that. But in the end, it was a real close challenge, and we had a lot of really good good viable, good eating squirrels, and we had a great time. And we did whip you guys. We did whip you guys and gals well. So that's how, as far as I know, that's 2 years in a row. And we're not going to do any bragging here, but that's 2 years in a row that one Pop,
Yeah,
you know,
gotta
one
give him
shot
something.
Pops and the crew. We dismantled you a little bit, but
All right. Beaver trapping.
Oh, just wait till crab.
beaver trapping.
Yeah.
Shut the front door. Now, what
Hey,
are you
it's
talking about
easy.
beaver trapping?
Beaver trapping's easy. All you have to do is
Where do we have beaver at?
You know, I've
Well, we
seen
have a lot of
sign of some
water.
trees in the back by the
Yeah.
stream chewed up like a beaver did it.
Exactly.
But I've never seen a beaver on the property.
I was going to call in my
myself.
cousins from Western PA. He's got a trapping company up
yeah.
there.
All you have to do is
Talking
you
about
get
beaver
those
hunting.
snares.
I don't know anything about beaver hunting.
You just need
I don't
snares.
think about beaver hunting either. Beaver trapping, beaver hunting, whatever.
tell you, though,
I don't even
so-
know if it's legal. I don't even know the regulations on beaver in Maryland.
No,
We'd have to look into it.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, though, I was out on the property yesterday with the little one. We were riding around on the four-wheeler, and we went toward the back, and we got coyote up in Cecil County, Maryland.
Oh, yeah.
Shoot, I got buddies.
Oh, yeah.
We got-
absolutely. Maryland's starting to get coyote in,
Yeah.
in many of the counties.
Our big first season, April 1st. I believe it's April 1st, crab season.
Crab season.
Yep.
It's definitely April. You may be correct. At one time, I used to think it was similar to like April, middle of April and all, but I think April 1st is correct. And if anybody knows what we're talking about, great. And if you don't, it's called the blue crab of Maryland in the Chesapeake Bay. It's really a neat creature, you know, and it's, you catch these things and then they'll eat you if you don't eat them. And they're real fun. They're real interesting.
It's
and
a
they'll
lot
bite,
of fun.
they'll
Maryland
bite
is
you to
known
death.
for
I
'em.
mean, it's cool.
Yeah, so we actually go out there with, what, 40-some pots? And
No, it's 30. I think you're allowed 30
30?
pots. 30 pots is
Yeah.
what we take out by law. It's got to be marked and identified that they're yours.
On the buoy, yep.
Yep,
Yeah.
on the buoy.
And
Absolutely.
then we have we go out there and we pull
You
them.
use raw chicken. A
Yep.
lot of people talk about clam bags now. It's a big deal. Clam bags claiming they're really successful. But we're old chicken neckers, they call us. And chicken neckers used to be tying a couple pieces of chicken necks on a string and throwing them over with or without a sinker. And you'd pull that line in real slow as the crab was hanging on it, and you'd dip them. But we use a little different situation. We get in the boat, we put our chicken on a net that we've made, and it's a legal net, and we drop it in with bobbers and all, and we go along and you grab it and you pull it up really quickly and you dump the crab into the boat, into the basket, and then you call them. It's a thing called calling them. And by calling them, someone checks to see do they meet the dimensions, the regulated size that they meet. And if they do, they get kept in the basket. If not, they get put into a call basket. And after the run of the line's done and you check all the pots, you take and throw the bad ones or the undersized ones, etc., out. You keep the ones that are 5 inches plus or 5 1/4, depending on the time of the season.
Now, your daughter, Christina, my sister-in-law, she always requires you to say something when you're on the boat.
She always
and we're-
requires you to let her come.
Well, I've got a little saying, when you're out there on the water, you know, and you're chugging along and it's beautiful out there, and all of a sudden the crabs are, you want to get them on the line, we got a thing. I do this. I go, put me on! Put me on! And what I'm saying is, put me on them. Put me on them. And that's what you yell at the person that's driving the boat. You tell them, put me on the crabs. And then you start pulling them in, you get them in the boat, and man, fun starts happening.
Yeah, she was mad at you. She didn't go out as much. We didn't go out much. We went out, what, twice last
Well,
year?
it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. We usually go almost every weekend.
Yeah.
But what's happened is we've gotten into this hunting to such a depth that we're putting in food plots, moving stands, changing things, camouflaging things. Michelle, we're doing
shooting
weaponry.
lines,
We're learning.
yeah.
We're to learn to shoot better. We're calls, grunts. Jiminy crickets, rattling. We are really food source plots, as we said. We've gotten pretty deep. We're getting deep into this hunting, and it interfered with our.
Well, we're
our
not letting
crab
it
last
interfere this year because Christina was all over me saying that, she's going at least 3 or 4 times this year.
Yeah.
So,
And then me too this time.
yeah,
guys
yeah,
remember me
you
this
didn't
time.
go last year.
Yeah. I didn't
Well,
go.
and keep in mind, folks, the idea behind all this is, and when he's talking about Christina, she's one of my daughters. It's the idea of being together and enjoying each other's company, whether it be crabbing, fishing, shooting bows and weapons, hunting deer. It's this. It's spending time together. It's spending time together, laughing, cutting up. I don't find anything more exciting than to come out and hear this young lady, my granddaughter Tay, saying to me, "Pop, guess what I saw? this, and just going on and seeing that in her eyes and in her smile and coming out. And then he comes out, and he usually don't see nothing, so I ain't got much to talk to him about. But every once in a while,
Have you
Mike
seen
will
his
come out
footage
and
lately?
he'll see. Well, sometimes you see a squirrel or something, right? Or
Yeah, once.
I mean, so he'll. What did you? Well, go ahead. He saw some chipmunks last year. He saw a squirrel. I don't know. Did you see a skunk or something, or a raccoon? You seen some?
I don't know. When we were squirrel hunting, he saw.
Big raccoon.
Yeah, big. Yeah.
Yeah, he saw a big raccoon. Yeah, so I asked him to take a picture, but he never has a picture.
Because he sabotages me. He sends me, so he says he drives down, and so on the way down, because we're leaving from 2 different locations, he calls me, right? And he says, oh, so where are you guys going to hunt?
Yep.
And so, we'll ask him for advice, like, where are we going to hunt at?
And I
where
say
should we? And so he
every
tells
time
us, right?
I let
at
them,
least off of his knowledge, because he's been there for 20 years. So he goes off of his knowledge of 20 years of hunting the same property. Yeah, I think you should go here. And I think
Michael,
you should go
this
here.
is a show that honesty is
So,
wildness.
I am
we
telling you
talk
the honest
about
truth.
family and all that stuff.
And,
I
yep.
always say, where do you want to hunt? You can have any place on the entire
Then we
property.
ask, what on your suggestion?
And I let
Yep.
you have any place, and you picked anything you want. I never interfered.
Well, if
you
I
could have
were
the best
you,
of the stands.
Yeah,
If I had a choice, I
never
would
guide
pick,
you.
I
I
would
never-
This stand's
pick
good for
the-
morning. This stand's good for nighttime.
And then, so the funny thing is, so he sends us to the opposite side of
That
the
is
property,
not true.
right?
It's a family show.
And then
All
he
right.
goes to the
Cut. It's a family show.
You can't
Then
see.
he sends us to the opposite. I think you need to hit the food plots or hit the pumpkin. We got, but we're looking at cameras and like, why would we hit the pumpkin? There's nothing there. So then
Michael.
he goes across the stream.
You're really saying this.
He goes across the stream, and guess what? Here comes 80, a buck that we have followed all year.
Yep.
Beautiful 8-point buck. He ended up actually
I
being
wasn't
9,
even there
didn't
that
he?
day either.
It was a 9-point. And so then he says, oh, I hear him. And so when he's texting us, and this is how he tries to irritate us in the stands, right?
He'll literally
He does
text
this
us
on purpose.
nonstop.
I'm not going to, this is the dead honest truth. I got proof.
Oh, so now you're going to talk truth.
So
Okay, go ahead.
he sits there and texts us, oh, they're going crazy. They're grunting like crazy.
Yeah, he's
they're
chasing
running
it.
around. They're running around. And we're sitting in the other stands not seeing jack. I mean, nothing. And oh, man, they're going nuts. They're going nuts.
You guys are
I'm
missing
hearing
his
them.
rut activity.
And then all of a sudden, you don't hear anything from him for like 5 minutes. And then he texts us, I shot him. I think it's 80. And Taylor and I are just like, I'm going to kill this guy.
I wasn't even there either.
Well, there's a truer version to the story, and we've got to minimize it. But I absolutely, unequivocally, always allow everyone in the hunting club to pick a stand before I pick. And I've absolutely told this gentleman right here what happens at different stands. I've told him the famous corner stand that I've told him if somebody hunts there long enough, and if Michael could deny this, then I'll go with it, but I don't think he will. I said, hunt that corner stand enough, and you will get a buck. Holden got a beautiful buck out of there last year, a nice 8-point.
Oh, yeah, he did.
I've got this beautiful 9-point this year. That stand will produce at some point during the rutting part of the season.
Would
Will
you say
absolutely.
there's a pinch point there?
It absolutely is. It's a funnel area and a pinch point, and the bucks like to drive the does down into that corner and kind of trap them. And it's real thick, and it's got a beautiful stream, and it's between 2 fields, and it's a funnel area, and it's where the woods come down into a neck. It's really, really interesting. But we do have a couple really major areas. And Michael was on one of the hot areas.
Yeah, in the
back in
back.
the corner, he's got video. He
Yep.
saw deers. He had bucks around him. He chose not to shoot them. He was going for a bigger deer.
Oh, I had a beautiful 8-point.
But Taylor's seen some nice deer, and she chose. She hunted the food plot later, and she got that nice 9-point hands.
Yeah,
And
one of the 3 that
Actually,
we
he turned out
targeted.
to be a 9-pointer.
Yeah,
9-point deer. Yeah.
we targeted him. We targeted 80, and then the last one, Prince. We just couldn't get him. One guy we couldn't get. And
So other than getting onto the fact that I set you up for failure, how did we get there, and where were we headed before we went that road?
we were talking about how you send us to the opposite side of the property, so he gets all the big
Yeah.
bucks.
So how did okay?
No,
so
we were
now-
talking about the blue crab.
Yeah,
There you
talking about
go.
blue
We went
crab.
from blue crabs to Pop setting them up for
Yep.
no deer. Okay, but
Well, that's another thing. Let's go into the stories about when we're blue crabbing. So if you miss a pool, it's always the puller's fault. It's not the driver of the boat's fault.
Yeah.
Right? Just to let you all know that.
Yep.
Or he'll tell you it's not his fault, that
No matter
it's the
how
puller.
crooked he
do
drives.
different people drive the boat, Michael?
Not usually. Well, when I'm crabbing with you, it's usually you. Now, if
Now,
Christina and
do I
Justin are with
ask
us-
you to drive the boat, Michael?
Yes, but I don't like driving the
But
boat.
you don't like driving the boat. But
I like
now
pulling.
I'm driving the boat, so I'm a bad guy. I get it. So what you're basically telling the crowd out there is Michael loses beautiful blue crabs. And it's probably never the driver's fault, which has to be me because he refuses to drive, but now he's losing crabs. So what's happening there, Mike? Why are we losing the crabs?
Well, if you pull them up a certain way, then and you don't hurry up and get them on the boat, they'll jump off, they'll fall out of the net, and but it's the problem is with him driving, you have to reach ask Christina, you have to reach
Half
across
your body's
you're
in the
water to pull it, and then so you're pulling like this, and then he's like hitting the speed again to get to the next one, and you're like, oh my god!
And you might as well just keep the net. You can't.
It's all his fault. I'm just
This
telling
was
you.
supposed to be a family show of love and kindness. And tenderness. We went from
That's
little,
a straight- we
we
can't- we
went
can't be
from
lying to
Little
these people.
Prairie.
Yeah, really.
We went from the little farm on the prairie, whatever that famous show was.
Little House on the
Little
Prairie?
House on the Prairie to I don't know, the Munsters, or to some crazy show where I don't know what's a
Kardashians?
bad show.
Keeping Up with the
A
Kardashians?
defuncted family. What's
I'm not gonna. We could
with
be the keeping up with the Kardashians.
yeah.
We might be the closest to
Man,
keeping up with the Kardashians.
Yeah.
Yeah, his feisty daughters.
Yeah. And you will get to see them one day. And so where are we going next? What do we got to talk about? We got to quit beating up the star of the show, Tay or Mike, here. And since you're having trouble shining here, let's talk about something else that might make people get interested in what we got.
Your
to
nose
say.
keeps getting bigger and bigger. Canadian
I'm
goose.
working
Hang it-
out.
we could hang a
My
jacket
arms
on
and my
that
nose, everything
nose.
gets, Go ahead. What we got?
Canadian geese.
Canadian
I wouldn't
geese.
mind going.
You talked about really doing that
I mean, you guys. I
in
mean,
Maryland. Obviously,
yeah.
is one of the capitals
Yeah,
for.
Eastern Shore.
A lot
areas
of geese.
specifically.
We actually have geese that fly over our property. Our property is no more than probably 5 or 10 miles from the small counties. I can tell you one thing, but we can talk about turkey hunting, and that's coming up.
Turkey hunting.
Turkey hunting. Does anybody know anything about turkey hunting?
Oh, yeah.
You're the expert. Yeah.
That is coming up in April.
You ready for it?
We've got plenty of them on there.
Yeah.
Now, again, it's weird. They're in and out of the property, and sometimes you'll see 20 or 30 of them, and then sometimes you don't see any for a while. They're peculiar right now there, but they are showing up.
Well, we're gonna give it a
Yeah.
try this year.
I saw 21 of them in just one sitting.
You got it on film, yeah?
I literally have 2 hens just circling each other and just fighting each other.
What do you?
Well-
What kind of? You gonna? So you're gonna use a 12 gauge. You're gonna use a.
I tell you what, I think shooting turkey with a crossbow or a bow would be quite a sport. I think it would be something really worth trying.
I was thinking about that.
And
yeah.
Yeah.
you develop those food plots.
They love that.
I know you don't
Yeah.
bait turkey; it's not legal to bait. But
No.
they coming into a natural food plot or into the fields in the back of the property. I think that's all legal, and of course we'll check into that. And
Yeah, I'm gonna have
I think we could have some quite good success. Matter of fact, this is going to sound silly, but watch this, right? So Pops has been working on calling a female call without actually having a call in my hand. So I'm using my my diaphragm, and I'm going. I'm actually going to try to call in. I did it last year, and I actually called some turkey in like that. They came into me without a call, and I did that, and I was so proud of myself. I've never done this before, and anybody out there that's watching this, maybe I look like a nut doing it, but you got to just try things. You got to have confidence. What do you think? Are you going to go after them with you're going to have a call this year? Are you going to go after them you're going to have decoys? Are you going to go
Well-
out there with a bow? What's your dad thinking? What's
Well,
happening?
personally, I have a turkey gobbler scope on my 12 gauge shotgun.
So you're gonna use the
Is it
12 gauge?
legal?
Yeah.
Is it legal? Have you looked? Is it legal to do that?
Oh yeah, it's
To use a
legal.
call? Is it like because I know they have the box, different calls and all. I mean, it's something we need
Oh
to.
yeah. You can use turkey calls just as long as it's not electronic.
As long as
But
it
you
ain't
can use the
electronic.
ones that-
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't use it like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's something that we're.
So you're
you
gonna
know,
shoot with a 12 gauge.
I'm
You're
trying
going to
out
go
that
to 12
turkey
gauge. So you know where
gobbler.
to shoot them with a 12 gauge, right?
Oh yeah, you gotta shoot them in the head.
Oh, you don't shoot them in the feet?
No,
Well, that's where you usually hit the deer.
but that's how you
at.
make them
Right. You're gonna be
dance.
picking those. You're gonna be picking those pellets out of them.
Yeah.
No, I'm messing with you. Yes, actually, absolutely, Taylor Swift. You're supposed to shoot the turkey in the head. That's
How do you
the
think
idea.
I killed that blackbird? I shot in the head.
Excellent, excellent.